To SBA Today for the week of November 26th. It's Turkey Week. As always, I'm your host, Paul, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Turkey, Tonya.
Wow. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
Yeah. There you go.
Awesome. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving week, everybody.
Thank you, yeah.
So, Paul, what are we going to talk about this week? We are going to talk about small banks. Small banks have significantly more, I guess. Yeah, I won't even go into that yet. Let's just talk about yours first. We've got some big news.
Well, interesting news.
Create a little bit of discussion here. I was a little worried about that because it's just on the political side. It's on the political side.
We are a part of a political world. So if you don't like it, turn it off.
That's part of it, right? And okay, so I'm just going to say in the news, SBA Today, what does a senator, an entrepreneur, my pillow guy, and Trump's daughter-in-law have in common? Paul's going to tell us a little bit about that. So go ahead. Let's hear it.
So Inc. magazine came out with an article because I have been very eagerly looking, okay, who has he put for, SBA Administrator? It's obviously very interesting. Regardless of your political spectrum, very interesting to hear how some of those things the choices are coming through there. Mm-hmm. So what's interesting is, according to this Inc. magazine article, these are the people who they believe have a shot at SBA Administrator. So first and foremost is Tim Scott, the South Carolina senator, very adamant about small business, and definitely criticized quite a bit of issues when it came to the hurricanes and that type stuff. So that could be interesting.
And yet he was a loyalist to the campaign or during the campaign as well.
That's a trend. We just assume.
I know. Well,
okay, sure. The Laura Trump, the wife of Eric Trump, is also looked in there. She has her own activewear line as a small business owner. So that could be interesting there. Everyone knows former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin would be another one. She is, again, very adamant about small business. And last but not least, and I'll admit, makes me a little scared, and that's my pillow guy, Mike Lindell. Right. Obviously, Mike Lindell is the creator of My Pillow, and it will be very interesting. Now, one thing I have noticed the last time Trump took office is the administrator was chosen closer to around Christmas time. So I think we have some time here. And of course, he's probably picking the, bigger positions at the moment first. But that's what Inc. says. Let's see what really happens.
I was going to say, nothing can be kind of called of what's going to happen from a typical standpoint.
There is no such thing as typical politics.
There is no typical. I do love how you said Eric Trump's wife, not Trump's daughter.
Well, I'm reading the article. Don't throw that on me.
Is there a reason, Mr. Paul? Yeah. Okay, so let's chat about that. Who do you think it's going to be? Let's throw some bets out there just because it's kind of fun to do. Since it's not going to be me, as I told everybody on my page that it was going to be me. Y'all do not want that. That'd be a very bad day. Anyway.
I will give my vote, and what I think will happen is Mr. Tim Scott.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I am going to go against you, not because I choose to, but because I have to. Because,
sure.
There's got to be something out there. I'll do Sarah Palin.
Interesting. That could be very interesting.
Oh, it could be very interesting. All right. But I'm just saying, I will go for that one because I could see Trump liking the TV-ready personality, and I could see it.
We'll have to see. We do know that obviously Linda McMahon, who was our administrator back on, we'll call it Trump 1.0, that She's now in commerce, so congratulations to her. I felt like she did a great job when she was with the agency.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens and what kind of shakeups and maybe even rule pullbacks.
There's
Wah,
been no
wah,
shakeups.
wah.
There's been no shakeups at this point.
No, none.
I don't see any shakeups whatsoever coming.
So we
All
will
shakeups.
see. But I thought that was a very interesting and I'll admit slightly concerning article.
Not saying anything. Anyway, we are going to move on. That way I keep my mouth shut, which y'all aren't used to, but I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Oh.
I don't go into politics. Anyway, okay, so let's talk next about the Coleman report. They came out or showed us the FDIC came out with a pretty good news story that is talking about, I don't know, when it comes to relationships with banks and kind of going the small versus the big and the different things that we all do, right? So it says small banks are significantly more likely than large banks to meet directly with small business loan applicants. Well, yeah, nearly 90% versus less than 40%. Now, doesn't that just seem pretty common sense to you there, Paul? Just wondering.
I think it always depends on the person and the banker. I know plenty of large institution bankers that I guarantee meet with their clients.
Well, it's not talking the banker, though. It's talking credit.
It is talking about the bank. That is true. Okay, fine.
Because I would think us loan officers should be meeting with their clients. It's talking, though, the decision makers in the back office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a difference.
Then, yeah, that's not surprising. I mean, let's be real. As a smaller institution, that's our selling point.
It is our selling point. From it.
Like often I compete against national SBA players. Well, what really sets us apart is we meet you in person. Like you actually have a relationship with me and my team. And that's a different thing. So, I mean, and without that, then we're just a commodity, right? We're just.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And that's what it says. It's saying that the decision makers meet with applicants fairly rarely from the large banks, oftentimes less than 25% of the time. And I think when it's talking large banks in that one, it's talking our behemoth banks, the too big to fail banks. And to a degree that makes sense because oftentimes they're nationwide one, right? So credit might be some other state way far up the food chain, if that makes sense, because as they do state in this article, it's more flat, I guess, the decision makers with the smaller banks, which makes sense, right? You've got your typical pyramid, and it takes multi-layers to get to the decision maker. With the larger banks, not so much with the smaller banks and the mid-sized banks. So that makes sense to me. So 95% of the banks with less than 500 million in assets meet with the applicants, compared to only 65% of banks with 3 billion to 10 billion. Again, that's because of the flatter organizational structure and the difference of getting to those decision makers to begin with. Now, I would say we're in the mid-size range, right? We're 1 billion in assets. And how we do it, which I'm going to give us a kudos mark here, right? It's one of the pros that I think is our decision makers, our credit officers, they rotate, right? So every couple of months, in general, all of them, including the bank president and the CEO, go to all the different markets, do site visits of all of our different deals. And oftentimes we'll meet with any of the borrowers that we specifically would like them to, if there's any kind of challenges or any kind of things that we think we need to speak with them to show, I guess, what's really going on, especially with our startups. If you think about it, that's projection based, right? So much can come from a conversation with a startup. That's the soft, I guess, ideas basically that you don't always get when it's numbers only. That's going to the back office with our decision makers. So that's pretty cool.
That is true.
Do you guys do something along those lines?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another thing on this article that I thought was interesting is percentage of banks that typically lend to startups.
Right.
And then do they meet with the decision maker and they separate it out between an SBA lender and a non-SBA lender. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to do a startup and you don't meet the person, what the blank? Like,
no matter what size bank you are.
I mean, character is going to be so critical for a startup business. You know, it's saying 26% have no meeting and not an SBA lender, where 56 are SBA lenders and me. And even 56%, I think, is ridiculously low. But, you know, larger institutions willing to take more risk, that's fine. You know,
well, and that's the thing too, is the larger institutions, oftentimes they're not looking at it from the way that I guess us smaller guys are looking at it. They are looking at it strictly from the SBA guarantee. So that is their backup plan, right? And so they're not looking at it from, you know, the potential client and all the different, you know, the 5 C's of credits or whatever that we do. Like, I had one of my loan officers come out, or my credit decision officers come out, because we had a very, it was a hotel bill or a deal. It was a startup, and it was a capital stack. I mean, there had so many daggum things on this that was a little wonky, that they decided to come out. Yeah. And so much of what they liked about the deal. Now, we didn't end up doing it because there were some things that came down the line with the capital stack itself. But we were moving towards doing it until, you know, like I said, a couple changes. But and the reason was, they met with that client and they saw such a smart guy, knew what he was doing, knew what he was talking about. He had done his homework, and they felt so comfortable with him as a borrower. They were willing to, you know, go outside the lines basically that we might draw otherwise. So that was pretty cool.
If I'm going to make an exception on a credit approval, I have to meet the person.
Absolutely.
I have to feel that there's something there. And that's the power of meeting with a client. And that's why, gosh dang it, will never be replaced with AI, because AI will not be able to know and look at Tonya and sit down with Tonya and see how amazing she is. Right. Like it's just, AI will never do that. Never do that.
No. Nor will they be able to sit down with our credit decision officers that are sitting there, you know, looking at more than just the numbers. And I like that, because I think our businesses are not just numbers. And especially when it comes to startups, or it comes to people that are growing their businesses, oftentimes there's stories behind it. And if we're not getting to that story, if we're not digging in and asking further questions, and we're just going based on numbers, we're going to miss helping a vast majority of people out there. So sorry, that's my little tangent there.
No,
now, I also wanted to sit there and kind of bring up, you know, like I had said, as far as the mid-size. So our bank is out of Missouri. That's where all of our credit officers are, as well as our head of SBA. Now, like I said, they come to visit periodically. One of the things that I think is really awesome when you've got the flatter, I guess, structure, as they talk about with the small and middle guys, I can pick up the phone at any time and call any of my credit decisioners, any of them, to the very head of our credit, right? And speaking of that, I've got something on that one. But and get, you know, either help with a deal, a structure issue. What do you think? What would you suggest, in order to kind of speed it up a little bit? Now, I got to give a shout out here. Our head of credit, Tom Richlet, has left our bank. Oh. Yes, I know. I'm actually really, really sad about it. So go ahead and put up that picture there, Madison, for us. So, all right. You'll have so we get very close, or at least I do, with the people that I work with, right? And so this is Tom's office, and I was sent this by one of the other credit officers yesterday. He was teasing me a bit about, hey, you know, I know you got emotional last week because we have our credit committee, our, you know, all bank video conference on Fridays, and I have to admit, I teared up. I teared up a lot. I'm very sensitive. And I really like
weird.
I bet nobody could ever, you know, come up with that.
Never.
Anyway, so I teared up a bit. And so he sends me this, and he's like teasing me a little bit. He goes, yeah, I know you want to tear up some more. So here you go. Here's in the office. And I'm like, one, you're a jerk. And two, you know, it makes me very sad. Now, I love the person coming in. She was with us prior, and she's actually a friend of mine as well. And she's going to do a fabulous and amazing job. It doesn't take away, though, that Tom, you are an amazing head of our credit. You are a good human on top of just being a good credit officer. And I think that's what made every single one of us really sad at the idea that he's going somewhere else. And that other bank that he's going to, man, they are getting a good one, because we have been through it with him. And no matter if he's declined the deal for me, and maybe I've gotten a wee bit upset about it, we always work through it, because he really cared about us as loan officers in addition to the borrowers as well. So Tom, we love you, and we wish you all the best at your next
There
adventure.
is
Anyway, there you go.
definitely a lot of power when you have a good relationship with your credit person, and you're not going to always get along. And if you do, it's not the right credit person. They need to pull back on things. They're looking at certain things, and it's the game that we play in lending, right? So congratulations.
I mean, the whole thing is relationship. The smaller ones, I think, tend to have a little bit better relationship, not only with their borrowers, but also the lenders with their back office team, because there's just a camaraderie there that you can build.
Yep, that's why you pull. If they say no, okay, then you're coming out with me with the client. You know,
I know. Yeah,
you're going to say no.
You're going to
say it to their face. Not
you're getting
me.
the Tonya silent treatment. Which, if that were the case, I swear they would decline everything, because they'd be like, "Sweet, don't have to deal with him." I'm kidding. Anyway, all right, guys. Okay, well, I don't know. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about there?
Nope, that was well done. Well done.
I think that kind of gets to it. But anyway, so guys, we're done for today. But remember to follow us on any of the LinkedIn platform and/or YouTube, or any of the streaming podcast platforms that you particularly use for yourself. We're on all of them. Also, we love talking to you. So reach out to us if you have any, topics or burning questions that you want to ask us. We'd love to help you out there. Go and look at all of our other family of podcasts, which is the Art of SBA Lending and the BDO Show. You'll find out lots of information from them as well. And if you are in Washington, Oregon, or Idaho, reach out to Mr. Paul there at Visa Credit Union, and he can help you out. If you're in Colorado, Missouri, Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, Arizona, oh my goodness, I did that all by memory. Anyway, reach out to me, Tonya Mazurek at Midwest Regional Bank. And hey, we'll see you guys all next week.
See you later. Happy Turkey Day.
Thanks, Tom.